Welcome to the Content Podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates.
Hey, this is Socorra. I'm a musician and community collaborator here in San Jose.
Hey, Socorra, how you doing? This is Daniel.
Hey, Daniel, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking time to talk to me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a massive podcast fan, so I was like, hell yes, when I got this email. I was so stoked.
Cool.
Like, yes!
Right on. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for letting us use Muddy Water for the background.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing
That's
that.
Cool.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. I have a couple other musicians that I'm interviewing, and so I'm going to have their music as the backtrack. So we have to figure out what we can do for some sampling of you for it. So it'd be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, so I want to read a little quote that we had from our interview back in 2017 when we were all just young kids. And it says, "I plan to keep cultivating and contributing to the community, figuring out ways that we can all lift each other up." So
yeah, I said that.
You said that. We wrote it, and it's been printed, and it's
been printed.
Yeah.
It's in people's homes.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. When I think of you, I don't just think of you as a musician. I do see that community building and activation stuff. So tell me, where does that come from in you? And how's that been going since that quote in 2017?
So I think because I've been thinking about this lately as well with all this presumably extra time we have on our hands is what people keep saying, but
right,
the time's still the same, but okay.
Exactly.
I grew up going to Catholic school, and a lot of the teachings of the school that I tended to gravitate towards were a lot towards doing community service and giving back and things like that. And so even at a very young age, when those opportunities arose, I was eager to jump. And when I went to high school, I went to Archbishop Mitty, and I was part of our campus ministry team. And a lot of the work was about, planning retreats, leading retreats, planning campus ministry events, and just being like, a good steward of the school. And that just has carried on with me. And I went to a brand new college when it first opened. I went to UC Merced, and that was all a big gamble. It was like, hey, are you here for the ride? Are you here to create your college experience? Truly. Cool. And those of us who stayed were like, okay, let's do it. Let's try this out. And Peace Corps after college, and that just amplified things that were already instilled in me. And since 2017, that year was like a big highlight year for me in San Jose. I feel like that is the year that things that I had been working towards and goals in my head started to come to light, and it was insane to see it start to snowball. And the more I got to know people, it was the more opportunities started coming about. And I think that, along with my experience in the Peace Corps, I think has totally prepared me for this right now. This feels very similar to Peace Corps.
You mean the shelter in feels like Peace Corps?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? In what way? What would be, because when I think of the Peace Corps, it seems like you'd be very community involved and connecting with people. Well, definitely physically or personally or not virtual. What's the other thing of virtual? Analogically. Physically. So then in what way is it like the Peace Corps?
So, we're volunteering in a country that I think no matter how many times you may have gone to visit China or gone to visit India or even Morocco, I was stationed in Morocco, it does not prepare you to live in Morocco and to live in a very small village and to really try and immerse yourself into someone else's shoes. And that's what, when I think about Peace Corps, I think of it as one of the most intense cultural experiences. And a lot of people go when they're really young. I went when I was 23, fresh out of college, and was I didn't have any plans after college. I was I'm going to Peace Corps. And if that doesn't work out, then I'll figure it out. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to Africa. So that ended up happening. And, you spend a lot of time observing and trying to figure out how you can contribute and not, stomp in there with an American flag and be like, I know the way. When
Yeah.
really it was like one of my assignments was to like help farmers with water conservation. And I was like, okay, I know how to conserve water, but I have no idea how to farm. So I am not helpful in this. But what I do know is that I know how to budget, and their budget is out of whack, and this is why they
Yeah.
can't conserve water and blah, blah. So it was like
Yeah. Cool.
these very basic things, but you had to figure out a way to do that without forcing hands and stuff. So it was a lot of observing and learning people's culture and learning a different type of work mentality. Like in America, it's very quantitative. It's
Yeah.
like we need numbers, we need results. But in Peace Corps, one of the most difficult things was realizing that, hey, tea time with your neighbors, you could literally put that down as work. And at first I thought that was really silly and like just, cheating on a test. But I was like, wow, this is work to sit down. And like I didn't know Arabic when I went to Morocco. And so I had to like learn Arabic and learn
Yeah.
the culture and learn the body language. And, every region has their own, slang and dialogue and things like that. But
Yeah.
you spent a lot of time alone at home too,
Yeah. Okay.
um, and in your house. And I mean, now I have internet, so now this is just like upgraded Peace Corps. But the idea of
And you
not,
speak the same languages.
and I speak the same language, right? But the idea of isolation and not having a routine, like a routine being stripped from you
Yeah.
and things like that, that is very similar to my time in Peace Corps. And so,
Okay. So would you say
yeah,
so? It was more of so. It's more the aspect of you walked into a culture that had a different speed, a different pace, and as well there was isolation because of language and because you just moved in there. So is that
right,
the thing? What you're saying in this particular time, you've kind of like it's a change of pace and it's and you're isolated in some ways. Like so you're okay.
yeah,
You kind
totally.
of learned how to be alone with yourself in a way or something like that. You think because
Yeah,
of the
you
Peace Corps?
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it. Like, you might live with a family, but you are going to want to be alone
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some sort of mourning period that happens. You're like, "Oh my God,
Totally.
did I just leave
Yeah.
cushy America? Did I just do?" I mean, I definitely cried the first couple of nights, like
Yeah.
could not believe where I was when I opened my eyes. And I think that's what's happened right now is there's definitely like a mourning, like March was definitely like a mourning period of like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not going back to that. And we don't know what's going to happen like afterwards and
Yeah.
when the afterwards is going to happen. And so, kind of some grieving needed to happen, I think.
Yeah. So did you and you went through that period of a little bit of a grieving, would you say?
Oh, totally. I mean, I got laid off from
Oh,
my tech job, and so I was
yeah.
part of that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that was new for me. I was like, oh my God, like I oh, okay, so totally
Yeah.
got flipped over, and having to learn how to navigate the unemployment system. I've never been laid off before, so like
Yeah.
doing all of those things. And um it's like the week before I got laid off, like we were at, I still work at School of Rock, and so we were all there having our last rehearsals, and then like a couple days later,
Yeah.
we're like can't be there anymore, and we've gone fully remote, and it's been working. um some hiccups here and there, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, total pivot. But there's definitely a little bit of mourning. Like
Yeah.
I was comfortable, and maybe I just needed to be a little uncomfortable again. And I didn't know it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the tough thing too, especially when you go on a trip like that into a different culture. Like you do learn these kind of great lessons, and of course they become yours. But the moment you get back to the United States and the routine and the pace, it's so easily the tide just brings you and suck you back in, right?
Totally.
And even with this, I'm hearing a lot of people say, this is so great. Everybody's coming together, so much support, and we're learning all these great lessons. And I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical because I'm like, yeah,
As am I.
the moment they flip the switch and say, okay, you can go back, people are just going to return to their routine. Maybe it'll take some people 2 weeks, and then there will be some people that'll change. But for the most part, um, I don't know. But
Yeah.
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 So
I don't, and
yeah,
I don't think we can also like expect people to change
Yeah,
right away, or for anyone even to have some profound enlightening moment.
totally.
That puts a lot of pressure
Yeah,
on this situation, and I
yeah,
think like puts, like, I keep saying this to my friends, but like some idealism or romanticism about this time period,
totally.
especially as musicians. Like, we have so much time to like sit by the windowsill with a cup of tea and write, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's the
yeah,
worst
but like
thing.
I got to apply for unemployment, and I've got to pay my bills, and I've got to do all, and I've got to figure out how to become a online teacher. Like,
Yeah,
these are the things I need to do right now. My guitars are there when I'm ready, and I'm not ready right now. So I'm
yeah,
just going to leave that right now and tend to these other things
yeah,
that I can control.
and I don't know necessarily if sitting around and not doing much really actually births more creation and more thought.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me at all.
Yeah,
No,
it
no,
seems
no.
like activity kind
Yeah.
of like, and those experiences is what makes it. So you might be able to contemplate the experience of the new situation and maybe some ideal ideas and come up with some material. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you feel like it's more the struggle that kind of brings out like that growth that brings out songs even for you? Do you feel?
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, and I'm a really like slow songwriter. Like, I mean, I just put out my new EP, and then like the world shut down, and I was like, cool, great timing on
yeah,
that.
yeah. But
But
it
those
fits though.
songs
I
took
mean,
me a
your new
while.
EP, like
It
coming home
does. It
soon,
sounds weird.
right?
It's so weird. One of my old friends used to say that she thinks we write our futures in our songs
Oh wow,
sometimes. And I was like, girl, you are tripping me out.
that's a
And
great
like,
quote.
more and more, I keep thinking about that. And I'm like, this is so, so bizarre. Like, we had this last hoorah, you know, massively successful EP release show at RPTK. And then the next day, it felt like, like the next week, like,
Yeah.
got laid off and then went into quarantine. I was like, okay,
Yeah. And
cool.
well then so yeah, that's that song Coming Home Soon. Like what was the idea behind it? I mean, it talks about I mean, was it and it talks about like resting, right? And kind of like some space to find
Yeah,
yourself in a way.
yeah.
And so when you wrote that, what was going through your head? And then how do you see those words haunting you now?
Yeah, I think that song, I think I started writing that song in maybe, oh my God, maybe 2016. Like,
Okay.
at least the guitar part of it. And I think I was itching to go someplace new and like move, or something, like something big, like a shift needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think this was a way of me, I guess, predicting my own my own future or something. Um, and Yeah, and now when and making that song, it was like so precious to me. I just wanted it to be really, I wanted it to be as grand as it became, but I also wanted to keep it extremely intimate.
Yeah.
Um, and so even the way the technical way of how we recorded it, we tried to keep it as if I was like kind of singing in my bedroom. It
Yeah,
kind of
very
felt like,
folky. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm a loud singer naturally. And so that was really tough for me because it's like extremely vulnerable. So I was like, okay, well, I want to put this song on the EP, so I better like buck up, basically,
Yeah.
you know. Um, yeah, it's a trippy song when I read the lyrics, when I listen to it, and I'm like, okay, there's like some triumph at the end with all the instruments clashing together, but it is this like turbulent thing where you're like, at the end, it's quiet,
Yeah.
and you do need some space from a lot of people, things, your old life, your old routines, and to shake it up, and then you can come back to yourself, but you will be a different person
Yeah.
for sure. And that's hard, and that's really scary.
Yeah.
But that's the most constant thing in life, is change, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good segue too. So then change with your first EP came out in 2017 Break, right?
Yep.
And so how have you seen yourself change from 2017 to 2020 with your musicianship, your storytelling, and just that whole process? What do you think how have you changed through those 3 years?
I think that I think my like leadership skills have become a lot better. I never played with a band before the first EP. I was so strictly solo, not necessarily by like choice. It was just the way that it was happening.
Yeah.
But being able to like effectively communicate what I wanted out of my songs and kind of balance between, sounding really selfish and mean about it. And
Right.
there's a constructive criticism way, and that's kind of, that's what we're
Yeah.
teaching at the school too, right? There's like a nice way to tell someone that they needed to play it better or something like that,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
differently, or like let's try this or try that. And I think that's just been a skill that has been growing ever since. And I think also like being able to adapt to everything, constantly changing and constantly pivoting.
Yeah.
And not pivoting because like, oh, we should try this social media strategy, or we should, because that stuff freaks me out. It very much is stressful to me, but
Yeah.
like, hey, we should try like these parts in the song, or we should not, or maybe you should try being more vulnerable, or in your lyrics or something like that.
Yeah.
So besides like getting actually better at guitar, like I can tell that I've gotten better at guitar because there are things I could do now that I couldn't do 3 years ago. There's chances I'm taking on the guitar that I wasn't taking. There's chances I'm taking with vocals that I wasn't taking. And I think because I was just like scared. I was like, okay, this is my first step, and like people are seeing me this one way, so I must be this one way. And I think I really wrestled with that. Even releasing like my single Believe, that song, I was like, well, I love this song and I think it's great, but it doesn't sound like the stuff I had previously released. And so I'm like, oh my God, are people going to be confused? Are they going to think I'm trying to be something else? Or they think I'm going pop? And I freaked out. Anyone who like knows the backstory and and who has been around since the origin of that song, like knows that I perhaps overly freaked out because I was just so afraid of what everyone else was going to think.
Well, you released it though in like 3 different styles too.
Yeah, well,
Was that part of it though, you think, or are you just messing around?
Well, the acoustic version was always kind of the original intent for that song. So I was like, I think that's a sad song, but I also love sad songs that sound really happy.
Sure.
It's like a thing that Sarah Bareilles does, and I just love that about her.
Yeah.
But the like club remix, those were like two old friends of mine from high school, like met up with me at Sofa Street Fair like 2 years ago. Came up to me after my set and were like, hey, we want to like do a collaboration. And I was like, okay, hey, you guys want to like remix this song? And they're like, okay. And so we just had a bunch of fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So then you said like one of the things that you've seen yourself grow is with your kind of like leadership.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, so would you say then that's helped you kind of like be able to orchestrate the band to bring the sound more that you're feeling to it? Is that what you're kind of saying? Is
yeah, I think that, but also I think a good leader listens first and foremost. I think a good leader listens and delegates to people's strengths. And that's what I've learned from like great bosses I've had in the past and just great coworkers and trust, like I trust the people that I work with to tell me that, hey, it doesn't sound right. And I expect vice versa, because it's whatever, what serves the song best, and kind of checking egos out the door and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because at the end of the day, it's like, these are my feelings.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're trying to, box them up into, gosh, my songs are really long these days, like 4 minutes, so really long for these days. But yeah, 4 minutes, something like that. And that can be really difficult, but there almost has to be a mourning period with the songwriting too.
Sure.
I don't think you can be so emotionally attached sometimes to certain songs so that you can actually record them and actually get them out if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to record and release them, you don't have to. Not every song I've ever written is out. There's only like 10 songs of mine out.
Right.
So
yeah.
Those aren't all the songs I've ever written. Those are just the ones where I'm like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah. So then then what that is when you say leadership then and listening, you've kind of grown so that you can take other people's opinions and constructive criticism to say like, oh yeah, that would be better for this song. right? Is
Yeah.
that what you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten better at it. It's still like
Oh,
you
sure.
still want to be. I think people want to be right on the first go.
Yeah.
As the
Right.
song, as the primary songwriter, as like the lead singer, you're like, of this like solo project of mine. It's like, yeah, I want what I hear in my head to be the exact way it comes out, but
Yeah.
oftentimes that's not the case. And I think letting room for that to breathe is extremely important. And I think
Yeah.
I've gotten better at that over the years.
Yeah. I guess at the end then, right, is to be able to take the criticism, make the decisions that are going to make it better, right? Of course,
Right.
move it in the direction that you want to do. And then the difficult thing is when the suggestions come up that aren't leading in that direction to gracefully tell them no.
Right. Yeah. To give everything to kind of give everything a shot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and everyone's opinion is valid in the band, and their ideas sometimes are better than my ideas, and they fit the song better, and I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are times you have to stick to your guns, and with certain things.
Yeah.
But I think that's with anything in life.
Yeah. On this last on coming home soon, did you have any of those opportunities to have where it was like somebody was making a suggestion, maybe even the majority of the band or the people you were collaborating with were like, yeah, 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 but you were like, no, no. Did you have any of those kind of scenarios?
I think we had worked a lot of that out before going into the studio because we had
Sure.
played these songs live
Yeah.
for a while. And so, that's kind of where we were getting a lot of the kinks out.
Yeah.
And then, we would have rehearsals for the shows, but we would have rehearsals specifically for rehearsing
Yeah.
for recording,
Yeah.
which is a different way of thinking about it. It was, because we did record the bass and drums pretty much live to give it kind of that vibe,
Yeah.
which
That
I
rock
really
vibe.
enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're just more cohesive. Not everything's so like robotic and leave room
Sure.
for getting off the metronome a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
too much, not too much,
Yeah. Right.
but just enough to like, hello, we're human.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I think we had worked out a lot of those kinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that on this last EP that was a suggestion that someone else said that you were like, oh my gosh, that is great, that you really were like, oh, that took what I was thinking to a next level?
So there was a drum part from Muddy Water that my friend Jonathan had suggested during rehearsals. I think we were rehearsing for a show. Because he didn't end up playing on the EP, but it was something that we were rehearsing for a show, and we were all like, "Oh wow, that's really cool!" To like, break up that tom drum section and do all that, and so we adapted that, and that has just become part of the song. Brian always has really great ideas on the bass. I don't know, I don't know what he's doing back there, but he's so on top of like himself that he's like, "Oh no, no, I could do that better.
Oh, yeah.
Let me fix that section." And I really appreciate that because he's just like, I want to play a part that serves the song. And I think everybody does that. I think Alex does that too.
Sure.
I think, guitar players, like, we tend to want to put too much in a song. And I think that's the most difficult part is like, even for me, like, I'm not like a whiz shredding guitar player, but even for me, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe we don't need all of these parts, and like trying to like, check myself at the door too.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
I don't know, but yeah, that tom drum idea was really great.
Yeah. Cool.
And I'm a drummer at first, so
Yeah.
that I really gravitate towards anything that moves a song along like that.
That's cool. Yeah. Hey, give me a rundown of then kind of like your band members.
Okay, so we've got Travis Drum on drums, of course.
Right.
we got Alex James on guitar, Brian Hart on bass, and then every once in a while we have Jonathan Shaheen on keyboards and guitar and vocals and doing all that stuff. So those were the guys who joined me when we did the EP release show, and then Adira Sharkey opened up, and so did the Anachronistics.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that was a fun night.
Yeah. It's great. This last EP, the production of it is great. The mixing and everything, I just really enjoyed it. And it was fun even getting the Muddy Water track where he took the main vocals out and
Uh-huh.
just hearing the back singing going on in it. I was like, oh, this is incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that was
was
so
really
fun
nice.
to record. I mean,
It's got great depth.
we knocked it out. I think we did maybe 5 takes of every song on there
Oh
just
wow.
to see, but we only ended up, of course, probably taking the third take,
Yeah. Huh.
which I
Cool.
think we knew. I think we
Yeah,
knew going into it. It was like,
that's the
okay, if we
one.
don't have it by take 3, maybe we don't have it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've been playing these songs for like a year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we've got something.
Hey, now talk about the South Bay music scene. How do you see it? What do you feel about it? What's your love-hate relationship with it?
Love-hate relationship. I think that, and I think a lot of musicians would say this, I think we need more venues that are not, and I would even make it more specific, that are not in downtown. You know,
Okay.
we need, because I remember when I was a kid, and I was a teenager, like there seemed to be more venues or more places to meet up in Campbell and like other, like East Side San Jose, and
Yeah.
even like Almaden, like San Jose Skate. Like I had seen a bunch of friends' bands play there in high school.
Yeah.
And I think just businesses, businesses who aren't dedicated music venues. So like San Jose Skate was, right? Like a skating rink that also had bands. Like I think places being willing to do that would do a lot for the community, not just like adult members of the music community, but I work with kids, so like
Yeah.
with the kids as well. Because for me, it's like, okay, in order to help these kids out, like how do I push them to the next level? And I'm like, well, for some of them, the next level is to go out and play their own show.
Yeah.
But
Perform. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
there's only like 2 spots and every band is also trying to play that, it's just kind of I mean, I guess that's its own lesson in and of itself, but I think, yeah, I think more venues. I think maybe San Jose is becoming a little bit more hip to arts again. But it's slow, and
Yeah.
I think, obviously quarantine hasn't helped it because the weather has been like super nice, and there'd be people hopefully all over the place, and businesses up and
Yeah.
running and doing all these things, and I'm a little bit nervous for re-entry.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know how many people are going to be willing to take chances, and you can't
Sure.
blame them
Financially
for
and
it at
stuff.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just risking how many people are in places and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need more venues. I think,
So even that's interesting because when I hear people talk about more venues, I personally always think in terms of, like 100 people to 200 people, right? Which I
yeah,
think there's need for that. But it's interesting because would you even be saying like more open mic? So if pretty much every cafe said, hey, you know what, we do Tuesday, Wednesday open mic, do you think that it would be something that would help cultivate the scene too? Or are you looking more
totally.
for, yeah,
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 because San Jose is so big.
yeah,
It's
it is.
so big, and even just reaching into like Gilroy and Morgan Hill, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a what is it, Gateway Church? There's a church down on Burnell that
Yeah.
does um
Cafe Lift? Is
Cafe
that?
Lift.
Yeah.
Cafe Lift,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're and they're way down there, so they're primarily serving like the outskirts of San Jose
Yeah.
and like Morgan Hill, right?
Yeah.
But I think we need more opportunities for people to express themselves like that. And I think open mics are a great place to like a low risk entry, I
Yeah.
guess, to do that. You don't have to like build in a crazy sound system.
Yeah.
But one of my dreams for like has always been to buy one of the Victorian houses,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and turn it into a like singer-songwriter spot, like Hotel Cafe is in LA.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Turn it into the spot, and just have it be really cozy, and
Yeah.
I just it's already a cool looking, and also to like preserve the cool houses. I mean, I think so
Yeah.
much of that culture in San Jose is being ripped away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah,
worked
that'd
in
be
tech
cool.
too, and so it's like for better or for worse, it's ripping away one culture and history to replace it with another. It feels like, and I'm like, oh no, how do we hold on to these like great stories in these houses?
Yeah, totally.
And so that's what I would like to do, but I don't have like $5 million to buy a house, so
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I would have to probably write a fancy business proposal and get someone to take a chance.
Right.
Field of dreams. Field of dreams is how I see everything.
What's some of your musical influences?
Okay. So anything Motown. I think that's not really a surprise to anyone who knows me. Anything Motown. Carole King is a massive influence on me. And basically anything from like the Vietnam War era, like that kind of classic rock folk stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely love. I could listen to that every day. Every day. The Forrest Gump soundtrack, stuff like that. I think, I grew up listening to that music, and that's how I started playing guitar. So there's also like that element. But
yeah, totally.
I think the storytelling, and I think, again, history repeats itself, and it's like very trippy. It's very trippy.
Yeah.
That, and then modern day artists, the Wild Reeds, their posters are all over my wall, so I must really love them.
Yeah.
The Wild Reeds, yeah. I love those girls.
All right, cool. Well, I would love to. I had so many other questions and stuff, but seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing, and then making your music live, getting out there, and helping coordinate things in the community too. Yeah.
Thank you. That's fun.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you there. Bye.
Bye.
We end this episode with Plain from Socorra's 2020 release, Coming Home Soon. Follow Socorra on Instagram at Socorra Music, and check her out on Spotify. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Subscribe by going to our website, content-magazine.com.